Hi everybody, Joseph Blake here from jblakephoto.com, and today I'm going to be doing a video focusing mainly on workflow. I'm going to go over some of the software I use and the steps in which I use it. The two pieces of software that I use the most are Photoshop, of course, and Adobe Lightroom. Now some people think that these applications are very similar, and in some aspects they are, but in a lot of aspects they are very different. And so what I'm going to do today is walk through the process of importing a photo and going through some of the file management workflow that I do in Lightroom, taking that photo through the steps of minor adjustments, and then exporting it to Photoshop for some additional adjustment, and then back into Lightroom. In future videos, I'll cover the final step that I would normally do, which is to publish this photo to the web through a number of services, and I'll cover some of those. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to open up Lightroom, which I actually already have running. Alright, so now we're working in Adobe Lightroom. The first thing you'll notice is that there are no photos. So what we're going to do is we're going to import photos into Lightroom. Now I have lots of photos already in Lightroom that we could work with, but I'd rather start from scratch. And I'm actually going to import some photos from a memory card. In order to do that, we're going to go and bring up the File Import dialog, which is right in here, right under File, Import Photos and Video. Now as you can see, this is automatically detected that I have an EOS digital compact flash card attached to my computer, and it has grabbed the previews for these files. This was from a trip that I took to the San Diego Zoo, and those are some of the photos that we're going to be working on. One of the great things about the import dialog in Adobe Lightroom is that it allows you to look through a large number of very high resolution images very quickly. I shoot with a Canon 7D, so these are 18 megapixel images shot in RAW, and as you can see, this one is 26 megabytes. That would just be too big to import all of them just to find the images that you wanted to work with. In this case, there's over 400 images, or 10 gigabytes of data here. So one thing that Lightroom does is it brings in just the preview, just the low resolution version of the image. The way that helps you is that you can get through these images very quickly to eliminate things that you know you don't want to include in your catalog. It hurts you, however, because these are not full resolution. These are not the actual image that you took. They are low resolution representations. So always remember that when you're working in Lightroom, that when you're importing, these are not your actual photos. These are low res versions of your photos. Now right now we're in thumbnail view, and on this particular outing I remember taking some really great shots of a lion. There she is. And I want to import one of these photos. Now you'll notice that they're all checked. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll right back up to the top, and I'm going to hit this All Photos button, and it's going to uncheck all of those images because I really only want to grab one. And I'm going to scroll back down, and there's really a number of these in here that I might want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one, and I've got two options here. I can either double click, or I can head down here to this preview options button, and I can click on the actual one-up view, and I can show the loop view and actually get a look of everything in the image. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scroll through a few of these, and you'll notice that they click by pretty quickly, and that's because, again, Lightroom is not actually loading the full image. And I wanted one where there we go, where she's looking right at the camera. Now I'm going to check that next one and the one before it. Yep, that's my image. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit my tilde key, and that's going to include this file in the import. You'll also notice down at the bottom that there's an option for include in import, so you can click that checkbox if you don't want to use the tilde key, or if you're not sure what a tilde key is. It's the one right now under escape. On the right hand side, you'll notice that we've got a number of options, and the first is file handling. This is where you control how much of that preview you see. Now in this case we're using minimal, but you can take that all the way to 1:1. If you did one-to-one, you would actually see the full version, the fully rendered version of your image, which would be beneficial, but probably slow your machine down considerably. We also have file renaming, and in this case we're actually going to rename these files, and we're going to create a custom name. And we've got shoot name and a sequence. And we can change this if we want to as many digits and to whatever we want. But in this case I'm going to use shoot name and sequence. And I'm going to tell it that the shoot name was SDZoo 2012. The extension will stay as a CR2, which is a Canon RAW file. Now under apply during import, we can actually add additional presets and settings. If there's a specific artistic setup or setting that you want to add immediately while importing the image, I prefer not to do this because I'd like to do that once I've actually edited the image. I want to start off as fresh and as clean as I possibly can. If you are going to be using a lot of metadata information or sorting your images with different tags and keywords, this is where you would add them. And lastly, we have the destination dialog. Now in this case, I'm actually going to add these files to my desktop. So I'm going to go to my username and go to desktop. I'm going to put them into a subfolder and I'm going to call it SDZoo. And it's going to put it all into one folder. It's going to create the folder, and that's it. So now you'll see that I've got one image selected. It's being renamed, and it's going to be put in its own new subfolder on the desktop called SDZoo. And import.